Welcome to Table Talk here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. 12 years strong. We got a great guest and discussion coming your way this week here on Table Talk. Coming to us from the Dime with Josh and Kwab podcast. Great podcast. I've been on their show a number of times to talk about the Sixers, the Knicks, the Eastern Conference, the NBA in general. We've got our good friend Josh Rodriguez. How you doing, buddy?
Jeff, always great to see you, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
Game one today, baby. Game one.
My gosh. Look, I mean, it was a disaster of a Sixers season for us Sixers fans. And thankfully, we're hoping that our team is going to be able to get back to the postseason at some point. Who the hell knows when that is going to happen? But I do have to say, my friend, watching the New York Knicks, and my best friend is a New York Knicks fan, and knowing that you, my friend, are such a huge fan and have been for so long, it's got to be a fun time for you.
It is, but it's not at the same time. I mean, if I'm being completely honest with you, the Knicks fans had higher expectations for this team going into the season.
Yeah.
And I think, this team, they haven't won a game this year against the Celtics, the Cavs, the Thunder, the Warriors, or the Lakers, or the Clippers. Literally haven't won a game against any of those teams. So going into these playoffs, we're just kind of like, yeah, this team's pretty fugazi. Let's just see how this ends. Like, there's no hope.
Look, I don't know about, as somebody looking from the outside in, I don't necessarily know about that. And maybe I'm actually keeping hopes up for the Knicks because, look, I think we've seen a lot of fun basketball being played in the first round of the playoffs in general. And again, what a series we saw against the Knicks and the Pistons. And I had a feeling that last game would potentially be a bloodbath, and that's just about what we saw. You follow the Knicks very closely, and I wanted to dissect really how they won that series and what type of Knicks team that we saw, Josh. What were those key moments and situations where certain players on this team were really able to rise to the occasion? And we're certainly going to get into some Celtics talk as the semifinals are right around the corner here and starting today as we're recording this. But in terms of what we saw in that first round, what are some of those key moment situations and the type of Knicks team that we saw?
Well, first of all, Jalen Brunson. You're
right.
But honestly, I mean, there's more to that as well. I think this
Yes.
Knicks team, especially with Knicks fans this year, we are constantly comparing them to last year's team, which is not fair to them. They're not last year's team, for better or for worse. And we've labeled this team as soft, not gritty, just not like last year's team. But I do think that there was a toughness and a grittiness that you had to show in order to beat the Detroit Pistons the way that they did. I mean, every game was close. You had to pull it out at the end. There were comeback games in the fourth quarter. There were times where you lost the lead and came back. And I don't think a mentally weak team wins 3 games on the road in that type of environment. So I do think they showed some mental toughness there. Obviously, Jalen Brunson being clutch in the fourth quarter all series, with the exception of game 2, which was one of the worst performances I've ever seen in my life. We don't have to talk about it.
Right.
But Jalen Brunson coming up strong. And then also Karl-Anthony Towns had a, game 4 where he hit the game tying jumper, the game winning 3. So he showed up. He didn't really show up in game 6, but he showed up for most parts in this series. And, a lot of times people talk about the NBA playoffs and like it's about your stars. And for the Knicks, honestly, it was about their stars. Yeah. You talk all you want about Cade Cunningham. Jalen Brunson outplayed Cade Cunningham the whole series.
That's what it needs to be. Yeah. That's what it needs to be for this Knicks team.
Yeah, it does. And there was a lot of talk into the series there was a lot of talk going into the series about how Cade Cunningham was the best player on the court from some people in the media. Jalen Brunson pretty much wiped that away. Anytime Cade had an opportunity to, do something at the end of the games, he didn't do it. And the Knicks did. Jalen Brunson hit big shots, and they didn't. And sometimes it's that simple. I mean, a lot of these games came down to last possession type games, and, the Knicks were able to pull through.
Absolutely were. Josh, where can folks find you on the interwebs out there, especially with the Dime podcast with you and your co-host Kwab? Where can they find you out there?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to build up our YouTube channel, so just go to the Dime with Josh and Kwab. That's KWAB. Just type it in your search bar on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. We do game recaps. If you want to follow me personally, I'm everywhere at Josh_Rodriguez_.
All right, very good. Now let's talk about what the Knicks need to do to beat the Celtics in the semifinal round here. And as much as it pains me to say it, I'm actually going to be rooting for the Knicks in this series.
Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to be in a Sixers fan. The hate for the Celtics is so real. It's always real. But look, like you mentioned at the top, this is a Celtics team that has swept the Knicks in their 4 regular season games. So what type, or I should say, what do the Knicks need to do consistently to compete with this Celtics team game after game in this series to inevitably and hopefully come out on top?
The Knicks equipment staff has to infiltrate the Boston Celtics locker room and give everybody the flu somehow. That's pretty much how this series is going to go. I think the Knicks just do not match up well with the Celtics at all. There's a reason why they lost 4 games to this team. 3 of them weren't even close. I mean, the Celtics just blew the doors off of them. And at the end of the day, you can't change your personnel. So at the end of the day, the Celtics are going to consistently put Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns in pick and roll situations, pick and pop situations, and get the Knicks defense rotating where they love to feast, hit open threes. So unless what I just said happens, but in real talk, unless the Celtics just go absurdly cold from 3, I don't see a way this Knicks team can win. Now, I can list like certain things that need to happen, right? Like
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson has to be the best player in the series. Karl Anthony Towns cannot disappear. Jalen and Karl Anthony Towns are going to have to play probably the best defenses of their career. Mikal
exactly.
Bridges is just going to have to get involved
Yep.
on the offensive end. The Knicks are going to have to get some type of bench production from Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, or Campaign. They can't do this with just the 5 guys that start. Like Mitchell Robinson's going to have to play a key role because he's their best defender in the paint, and also he's their best big defender on the perimeter as well. Like all these things have to happen. Jason Tatum has to be missing his threes when the Knicks are in drop coverage. Kristaps Porzingis is going to have a rough like there's just so many things.
Yeah.
And when I think about what the Celtics have to do, we just have to be the Boston Celtics. Like they
Yeah.
don't have to do anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
So for
Oh,
me,
that's why that's why we hate him
huge
so much.
mismatch. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we hate him so. Honestly, I think. Look, you just listed it. You just went through a laundry list of things in terms of what the Knicks need to do. I do think that defensive performance is high on that list because if the defense doesn't show up, I mean, it's going to be a sweep. Quite frankly, I think that's what's going to happen. But I do have faith that we will see some good defensive performance from this Knicks team, and KAT is really going to need to show up in terms of that. I think.
Yeah, he's the most important because he's
Yep.
the player they're going to pick on. They're going to pick on Jalen too to try to get a switch and get mismatches going.
Yeah.
But Karl Anthony Towns has had a hard time guarding the pick and pop with Porzingis, the pick and roll. He doesn't meet on the drop. He drops too far. I mean, it's food. I mean, at the end of the day, Karl Anthony Towns is going to have to play way better defense than he's played against the Celtics all year.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move over to the West Coast. I want to get into the LA Clippers, what we've seen from them during the postseason and where their future is actually going to go, because we finally saw a healthy team in the first round of the playoffs. And at the end of the day, they just couldn't get it done, as you know, Josh. I mean, it really makes you wonder how that team is going to look come next year. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the Clippers not being able to get out of the first round after being healthy here, and where this team now goes during this upcoming offseason?
Yeah, I don't know where they go. I mean, you could look at it 2 ways. One way is you lost in the first round, and you need to blow it up. The James Harden thing. I mean,
Yeah.
as a Sixer fan, I mean, big games in the playoffs, for some reason, he just turns into a different person.
Yep.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But you can say, okay, that's what he is. This is who we are. We need to blow this up and move forward. Or maybe we keep Kawhi and just try a different way around him. I don't know. Or you can look at it in a way where it's like they lost in 7 to a Denver Nuggets team that has won the championship a few years ago. They needed a miracle dunk at the buzzer from Aaron Gordon to flip that series. Who knows what the Nuggets do from here on out, right? Like the Nuggets can go on, win the NBA Finals, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we lost in the first round, but we lost to the team that won the Finals. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I think it's all relative into what the Nuggets do. Like if the Nuggets get embarrassed by the Thunder, then you can say to yourselves, all right, we're not even close here. But if
Yeah.
the Nuggets have some success going, Western Conference Finals, maybe NBA Finals, then you could look at yourself and be like, we were 1 game away, guys. And I do think the Clippers are closer to contending than they are to having to rebuild. I know when you lose in the first round, it's a bad look. But again, this team was one of, if not the best team down the stretch in the second half of the season. They had one of the top tier defenses. You still have someone in Kawhi Leonard who, when he's healthy, is one of the best players in the league. I don't know how you fix the James Harden mental.
That's where I was going to go. That's where I
Yeah.
was going to go with
So
this,
maybe
because
maybe you move him the offseason. I don't know. But even moving him, you're just replacing one position, which is the point guard position, and you could probably get some value in return for Harden.
I think so too. At the end of the day, the guy just does not show up during the postseason. I mean, this is consistent year after year after year with his level of play. Look, he's not the James Harden of 10 years ago, of course, but my gosh, it's really amazing to look at when he is on a team. The postseason comes for that team, and he is absolutely silent. It just
Yeah.
it absolutely amazes me, Josh. So
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. It
yeah,
makes zero sense to me.
absolutely. All right. Well, moving on to, I want to get into the Cavs and Pacers series with you. I think that's going to be a great series from what we've already seen from both of these teams. The Pacers, I think, are really going to need to pressure off the perimeter from Andrew Nemhard and for Miles Turner to really step it up defensively in the pick and roll without really sacrificing, rim protection for him. So, how do you see this series going from an offensive and defensive standpoint as it pertains to both of these teams? I think this is going to be a fantastic series to watch.
Yeah, I had the Cavs winning this. I had them in 6. I'm gonna stick to it, even though they lost game 1.
Yeah.
But the Pacers are a lot better than people think they are. I mean, they got off to a slower start this season, and I think a lot of people thought last year's Eastern Conference Finals run was a fluke. And I do think there's truth to that, but that doesn't mean you can't get better and be a better version of yourself this year. And I
Right.
think that's what the Pacers are. Like, they are playing better defense this year than they did last year. They're picking up full court. They have perimeter defenders and Nemhard and Nesmith that can pressure the point of attack, make it difficult for the Ty Jeromes of the world, and sometimes Donovan Mitchell. Donovan got off in game 1, but they play defense and they can score the basketball, even with
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton off the ball, which they showed in game 1. And when they're moving the basketball, they have shooters like Nemhard and Nesmith and Obi Toppin who can hit the 3, and Ben Shepherd who didn't do anything in game 1, but he can hit the 3. Pascal can step out. So they are just a well-rounded, well-oiled machine, but so are the Cavaliers. I
Yep.
don't think it's a coincidence that the Cavaliers are the 1 seed. I do think that they are the better team, but Darius Garland has to play, especially nights like last night where you can't get a stop on the other end. You're going to need to go bucket for bucket with the Pacers, and they just weren't able to do that at the end. And I think having someone like Darius, even though Nemhard did give him fits this season, I still think having him on the floor does a lot for the Cavaliers offense, because without him, you're taking out a dynamic that existed all season, and now you have to figure something out in crunch time. So if Darius comes back and he's healthy and he plays, I still think the Cavs win this series. But this might go 7. I said Cavs in 6.
I think
I
so.
want to change it to 7, but
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be a fantastic series
Yeah,
to watch at the end of the day. So, as we're moving along here, two-part question for you, Josh. We really want to talk about some under the radar players that we need to be keeping our eyes on during this NBA postseason. I want to start off in the Eastern Conference with you here. What's that one under the radar player that we really need to be keeping our eyes on in the East as it pertains to how they're going to be able to accelerate what their team can do on the court? Who's that in the Eastern Conference that you're going to be keeping your eyes on?
it's 100% Ty Jerome, Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay.
I
Yep.
mean, he comes off the bench. He's instant offense. They run the offense through him. He handles the rock. I mean, he's been one of the more underrated, underappreciated players all year. A lot of casual basketball fans don't even know who he is.
Right.
But
Right.
he's been fantastic for the Cavs. Game 1, he came in, struggled right away, but was able to pick it up. He ended up scoring 21 points. He's a big reason why the Cavaliers bench is what it is. There is no drop off from the first unit to the second unit. And I do think that if Ty Jerome continues to play well, this Cavaliers team is going to be very difficult to handle, because a lot of times you see with the Knicks, right? Jalen Brunson goes out. How are the Knicks going to score? The Cavs don't have that problem because of a player like Ty Jerome. And he's greatly underappreciated by the NBA media and by the casual NBA fan.
Absolutely. But on the flip side of that, let's move over to the Western Conference here. Same question. Who's that under the radar player that we need to keep our eyes on in the Western Conference that could really help propel their team forward here in the postseason?
All right, your listeners are going to roll their eyes at this. And they're gonna
Okay.
think it's biased, but it's not. Julius Randle, baby.
Oh,
Julius
man.
Randle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he has this reputation of not showing up in the playoffs, but there's context to that. The first time he was in the playoffs with the Knicks, he was facing practically like triple teams against the Atlanta Hawks. And
Right.
the other time he was injured, he had an ankle injury. He rolled his ankle, missed a few games, and was just playing on one leg. And then he missed the whole playoffs last year. So he never got a chance to show up healthy with people who can help him out. Like he just never had the
That can help
opportunity.
his game. That can
Yeah,
help
so
his
then in the
game.
first
Yeah.
round, when he has a great series against the Lakers, everyone's like, "Well, where did this come from?" It's like when he's healthy, he can ball. Like this is who Julius Randle is, and a lot of people are forgetting that. And it's not a coincidence that when he came back from injury towards the end of the season, the Wolves were able to shoot up the standings. There's a good Julius Randle, there's a bad Julius Randle. I'm not saying there's a bad Julius Randle, but the
Right.
good Julius Randle is really freaking good. And if he plays good, the Warriors are not the Warriors. The Wolves are
The Wolves.
sleeper,
Yeah.
sleeper team. I'll leave it at that. They're a sleeper team.
I think so as well. I do.
Yeah.
I think that's a great pick, Julius Randle, for sure.
Yeah.
Not being a homer or anything,
No,
considering
I've
where he
seen it.
was.
I've seen it with my own eyes,
I
Jeff.
know. All right, buddy. But before I let you go and to close us out here, I'm wondering, and it's a general question. What's one of the biggest underrated storylines during this NBA postseason that's really gonna be consequential for whatever team as they're heading deeper into the playoffs here? What's that one underrated storyline that you're looking at here as we're moving forward?
I mean, I'm going to just stick with the same topic. It's the emergence of Julius Randle, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Okay.
I mean, if you talk about the cat trade with Julius Randle, a lot of people didn't understand it from the T-Wolves standpoint. Even like 60 games into the season, they weren't taken seriously. And I do think they're going to beat the Warriors in the semifinals. And I do think they're going to start turning heads like, wow, this is the same Minnesota team that we thought was going to win the NBA Finals this year. Maybe they can win the NBA Finals this year. I think by next week and a half, or whatever it is, we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, maybe not as the favorite to win it, because I still think the Thunder will probably be the favorite in the West, but we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves as one of the teams that can actually win the NBA Finals. I think people forgot how good they were defensively. I think adding Julius adds another dynamic that they didn't have with Cat last year, because he can run the break, he can play make, he's a great passer. Cat is too, but Julius more off the dribble, getting into the paint, driving and kicking, which bodes well for three-pointers. I think people are severely still underrating the Timberwolves and not realizing what they are right now. I think they're a finals contender for sure.
It's going to be fun to watch this postseason for sure. And folks, make sure that you subscribe to on whatever audio podcast you are listening to us on, or if you're watching us on YouTube, The Dime with Josh and Kwab. Great podcast. Great content. Where else can they find you on the interwebs out there, Josh?
I'm everywhere at Josh_Rodriguez_. If you want to follow the podcast, it's everywhere at The Dime NBA.
Very good, buddy. It was great talking to
Always
you.
Always a good time, Jeff. Always a good time.
Thanks so much for jumping on the Table Talk pod,
It's nice
man.
not to hate you. I mean, I didn't hate you, but Sixer fans. It was tumultuous last year. We hated each other.
Oh my gosh, it was rough. It was rough. It was nice to fail this year the way we failed. Absolutely.
It was nice to watch too, as Nick. Not to watch.
Gosh, I hope we get a decent pick. That's
Enjoy
what I'm hoping
Grimes.
for.
I miss him.
Yes, absolutely, buddy. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. Come back and join us down the road, my friend.
All right, Jeff. Appreciate you, man.